All right, welcome to another version of The Wired Idiot. Today we're going to be talking about showing you how to hook up your microphone and your guitar through your mixer in order to create a good quality Zoom broadcast. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, we need to get familiar with our mixer. Now, in this case, I'm using a Yamaha MG10XU. Any mixer, any USB mixer will work just fine. There are cheaper mixers than this. I think Behringer has a couple of mixed reviews that go with it, so you have to be aware of that. I did a lot of research before I decided to buy, and this mixer has done me very well. If I'd have known then what I knew now, I probably would have gone a little higher up in the range. And we'll get into the details of that in a little bit as we show you how to use this mixer to properly stream through Zoom, okay? So the first thing is, oh, and also I will let you know, I have no affiliation. I have no, I don't know, I'm not being paid by Yamaha or anybody else. I call them as I see them. And so moving on with the Yamaha mixer. So as you can see, I've already got my microphone plugged in, just as I would as if I was going to perform live or, practicing through my speakers or headset or whatever. So I've got my microphone put in. Now, I will let you know, I'm assuming that you do know what the strips, what they do, like what my options are here on these strips. I'll touch base on them. The most important thing I think you'll need to know here is the gain, all right? So we know that these are our mids, treble, mids, and bass settings. This is our amount of reverb we want to add, okay? So in this case, and I guess it would help if I turn the mixer on, but in this case, I've got everything pretty much flat, because that's kind of an individual preference, and that's something that you will play with and experiment in how you sound the best. So I've got everything at 12 o'clock. I'm not using any compression at this point, but I mean, if I did, I don't think I would be probably more than that, okay? But again, that's an individual thing, and remember, we are dealing with one knob compression, which has a different philosophy than if you have, all the 4 or 5 knobs that are normally coming with, with a compression kit. The main thing that you'll need to know about here is the gain. Now I'm set my level, I always set them at unity, which is that little arrow, and then I use my gain to adjust my levels accordingly. So in this case, test 1, 2, you should see the lights now are continuously, I have my mouth on the microphone or an inch away, and the lights are hitting -6 on a continual basis, all right? So, normally that is just fine with the odd yellow. I'm going to bump up the gain, okay? And one of the reasons is, I don't know the technical reason for it, but in layman's terms, streaming seems to take a lot of gain, all right? More gain than, let's say, you were performing a gig, playing a small coffee shop or a small pub somewhere. You'd know in your mind where your gain should be. Well, I can tell you that these things, the streaming process, I guess, really eats the gain. So you're going to need a lot of gain. So I start mine right here at 3 o'clock. So that's well up the knob. And as you can see, when I talk into the microphone, the way I'm speaking now, I'm hitting the yellow, and I'm even going, if I emphasize, it's still hard to hit +6. So I'm around 0, okay? So I could probably go a little further. See, now it really jumps up now. Now, if I was recording into a DAW and even performing live, most sound guys would say, hey, that's way too much. Dial it back. But I think you should keep it here and bear with me, all right? So that's my suggestion as far as the gain goes. Whatever you think you need for live, add 10, 15, 20% because it just gets used somewhere in the process. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to connect my guitar. So it's a simple process. It's the same as plugging in for any other reason that you would use a mixer, in that you come from the guitar, you choose your channel. In this case, we're going to choose channel 2. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to set my levels, all right? And I am going to set my gain. In my case, it seems to me that my gain is usually around, somewhere there around 9 o'clock for my guitar. Okay, now you may find differently. You may want it louder. That's completely up to you. The goal of this video is to show you really how to plug in and take your act online, or if you're ever invited to join a Zoom a music round table or session or anything along those lines. So for this point, we're going to stay where we are at 9 o'clock. Okay. So we have our microphone and we have our guitar. And as you can see, I'm getting the same levels from my guitar. Okay. Maybe a little bit down. So maybe I'll just nudge that up so that when I do a pretty good strum, I'm hitting the yellow more often than not. Okay, that's where I find you really should be. And keep in mind, you've got the audio, you've got your vocal and your guitar in the overall mix that's being sent out this one channel, and that's your USB strip. Okay, this is what makes it all happen. So this is why you buy a USB mixer, is for this strip. So the cheaper ones are not USB mixers. They won't have this strip on it. Okay. So what we need now to talk, in order to talk to the rest of our equipment, we need a USB 2.0. So it's got that really fat end on it. Okay. So that will go into the back of the mixer, and there's only one place to put it. Okay. And so we're going to plug that in, and it can only go one way because of the way it is configured. And the other end will go to our laptop, which will be the source of our camera, and it will be the source, it will deliver the stream to the internet using Zoom. So because I have a MacBook, which only has the 2 C ports, I have to have an adapter, which gives me, it's like a little hub, an unpowered hub. You can use a powered hub, and it gives me the extra USB. So I have one already used for my mouse, and I have the second one now that has connected my mixer to my laptop. And now we're connected. We've got sound on the USB strip. Okay, everything here is all about when the information comes back to you and you're monitoring yourself. This is the out. Okay, but this goes into your headphones, but it does not affect what the listeners hear. The listeners will hear the effects and volume that you have set on your 2 strips that you're streaming. Now, I believe in the more expensive mixers, you can boost the out. And that is what, if I had known that, I don't think I would have gone with this mixer right away. I think I would have gone another level or 2 up and got a mixer that has the ability to control the USB out, the volume out. Okay. So what I mean by that is right now, whatever is sent out is sent out. I can't make that louder using the USB strip on this mixer. If I want to increase the volume of the guitar or the vocals or both, I have to use my gain. And I found that that can be real tricky because that can put your levels too hot, all right? So I think if it even exists, I think having that out, like an output volume on that USB strip would be very good. And you'll know what I mean. I don't notice it as much in Zoom, but I have been asked to turn up a little bit. I notice it more when I use the same setup to make videos. I noticed the end result is lower than what I hear in my ear with a direct monitoring through my headphone jack, okay? So in this case, I also am going to monitor, and I'm going to monitor through a pair of earbuds, and I'm going to connect those now. So basically this is a 1/4-inch jack, but my earbuds or some of your speakers or ear headphones will be the little guy. So you need an adapter. Make sure you have the 2 rings on the adapter for stereo, or else you'll only hear it in one ear. So I put that in the headphones, and then I put my earbuds into that. So now I'm monitoring myself. And that's when you'll realize that, boy, do I ever sound loud. But trust me, when you hear the end result, you will not. So what I started to do was figure out a way through experimenting that to take the loudness off, I'd use the headphone volume and I would turn it down until it was comfortable in my ear, right? But I know that everything is jacked up, so it will come out loud, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Okay, so that's what I'm ready to do now. So I've got my monitoring in place. I've got my guitar and my vocals plugged in. And now we are going to open up Zoom and show you the settings of what you'll need. Okay? Okay, welcome back. So right now you are listening to the sound that we set up on the mixer, okay? So you're listening to the vocals, and just to give you an idea, if I was to crank the reverb, now you can hear that it's definitely coming through the mixer, okay? I like just a touch of reverb on my vocals, very little, and everything else is pretty much plain. But again, that's something personal preference. So right now, I'm happy with what I'm hearing through my earbuds, okay? So I wanted to give you a sample that we've actually set our settings, or how we want our sound to be. And now we are going to switch over to Zoom and show you the settings to make this sound come through and come out. You're streaming through Zoom. Now, one thing I will mention on this USB strip, remember, these buttons here, these knobs, they only affect what's coming back. So in other words, if I want in my ear to hear some crazy effects or whatever added on, then I would activate the effects button accordingly. If I wanted to make everything wet that I hear coming, then I would use my treble or my bass. So this does not affect what goes out, all right? So that's what I was saying earlier, that I'm pretty sure that in a more expensive, higher end mixer, I might have control over the output volume or the gain of this channel. And that would be extremely beneficial. It would just add another level of fine tuning to the volume of what you sound like. Because remember, you will lose gain or volume. What you hear in your ear right now will be higher than what you output through the USB channel for recording to your iPhone or sending out as a stream. So keep that in mind. I don't know why technically that is, but it just seems to eat gain as your signal leaves the mixer and goes through probably who knows what other kinds of compression or manipulation. I mean, if you're streaming live on Facebook, they might have their own compression tools. Zoom has theirs. You know, everybody probably has their own. So I found that you need, as we covered already, more gain than normally if I was just using the mixer through a PA system. Okay? So again, you've just heard now that we're happy with the sound we have, and now we want that to be the sound that we put out through Zoom. Okay? So we're going to now switch over to the Zoom program. Okay, so we are back. We have set our volume and all of our stuff up on our mixer. Okay? We've got the optimal level that we want in our ear that we want to send out to the world. So now, remember the USB is connected to a hub on the MacBook. If you have an older MacBook, you won't need the hub because you'll have sufficient ports to plug the USB out into your Mac. Now, we've opened up the general window of Zoom, okay? And now what we're going to do is we're going to optimize our settings so that we're confident that everything we do and we hear in our ear is going to go out through our Zoom broadcast. So what we need to do is we need to access our settings. And there's a few ways depending on where you are in Zoom, but if you're on this page, you go down to the microphone, okay? We don't really have to do anything with video because the only thing we have to do with video is select our camera source. And in this case, as you can see, I've already selected my FaceTime camera. Now, when I actually Zoom, I don't use the camera in my laptop. I use the iPhone that I'm recording on now. And I use this software here, Camo Camera. It's a free download for Macs. I'm not sure if they have an Android version, but it's a really good piece of software. It's completely free, and all I have to do is use a Apple, my lightning cord that I charge with, and that goes out of my phone into my laptop or into the hub, right, the USB hub, and it then uses the iPhone as my camera. So I get a much better resolution, I get much better quality. So that's something you may want to look at, and it's something I'll do a video on in the future. So I just want to make sure that my camera is right, so it's FaceTime camera, and that's really all there is in the video end of things. It gives me another opportunity here to select my camera. I can probably I can touch up my appearance. I can, I guess I can change to HD if it allows me, if it makes a difference. Those kinds of things. What we're really after here is over here, the audio side of things. So we're going to go ahead and click on audio. Now, right off the top, it has detected that it's my Yamaha mixer, that it's connected to this laptop. If for some reason you don't see that, then or whatever your mixer name is, then you go over here and you would select, find it and select out of that box. So in my case, it's already there. Now I know that when I go to the microphone, okay, I have my input is coming through, right? So you'll also notice that I cannot change any of these settings using Zoom. And that's because we have told it that we're using the mixer for the in and outcoming sound, all right? So the mixer has now taken over. It's the boss. If I did not select that, in other words, if I had selected my Apple MacBook speakers and MacBook microphone, okay, right here, I could do my microphone. Well, now it's different because now I can go ahead and they'll allow me to adjust the input volume and the output volume. Now, when I first did a Zoom during COVID, I didn't know how to do any of this. So I just opened up my laptop, opened up Zoom, and I used those two settings to where the green was, you know, comfortable. And I went away and away I went with mixed reviews. Then I heard other people in our circle and they sounded fantastic. And I thought, hey, there's something wrong here. So that brings us to today. Now, as we move on down, okay, we don't want to do automatically adjust microphone or anything like that because we're letting our mixer do all that for us. So as we come on down, the audio profile, there is Zoom optimized audio, and that is what you would use if you were using this for a video conference at work, okay? You would use this and it's pretty much done. It regulates everything and, you know, you're ready to go. You could put on what they call like a background suppressor, and you can put it on low, medium, high. I've never used these settings, but I have heard that they do tend to act a little bit strange and they kind of make certain noises, but I don't know that for a fact because I've never used it. So instead, what we do is I don't use this button here. I come all the way down and it says original sound for musicians. Now, if you don't have that button there, okay, you have an older version of Zoom. And in the older version of Zoom, this original sound was in one of these selectors, and you had to select it from there. And it said nothing about musicians. So you sort of had to know what you were looking for. But they have since added this. So if you do not have this, then you need to get an updated version of Zoom. You will have this box here. So you simply click that, okay? And that brings you these options. I select high fidelity music, but please note that when you do select this, it will take up more of your CPU resources because it's asking to send out a richer sound. I have never really used that, okay? But you're welcome to do. I'm sorry, I've never unused it. I've always had it on, okay? But you're welcome to do it. I really don't think the difference would be that negligible. I don't put on the echo cancellation because way back I heard that, you know, it sort of takes over and may or may not do the right kind of job and may or may not affect your output, okay? And I use stereo audio. So that is it. That's all you need to make sure of to replicate what we've put on through our mixer to come out on the other end. So lastly, up here, original sound for musicians should be on, okay? So that is it. Now you would go to your video and you can get out of these settings and they will save themselves for the next time that you want to start up Zoom. Now automatically you won't have to go through this all the time, but it's a good idea. Get in the habit. You know what computers are like. Get in the habit of checking your settings before you log into the meeting. Make sure that everything is the way they're supposed to be. So I think we've covered everything. The only thing I would emphasize to you about this process is on your mixer, the USB channel. I know I've touched a little bit about it, the USB strip. Remember that on that strip, okay, all of those knobs, those settings that you have there, they do not affect the output of your sound, okay? They only affect what's coming back through your headphones, through your monitors. So, in my opinion, it would have been really good to have some sort of a gain or volume on this strip so I could actually dictate how loud, how much do I want to send through out into my stream. I think that would help a lot. Okay, so right now I have to do that with the gain knobs. Okay, so keep that in mind. I think that's a very, very valuable point when you're buying a mixer. If you're looking, if it's completely budget that is dictating what you buy, then obviously you got to go with what you got to go with and take what is offered. But if you have the luxury of saying, hey, wait a minute, okay, then I would look around for a mixer a little on the higher end that allows you to control the output of the USB strip. And lastly, it's not completely confirmed, but I was wondering about my mixer and whether or not it was delivering enough output. And I did a little research, and I have found a few videos online that suggest that this model does have some issues with its USB output, in that it's a much softer or lower volume than it should be even. So I don't want to say for sure, but who knows, if you get one of those mixers that, you know, in other words, we might have the same Yamaha 10XU mixer, but mine's louder than yours or yours is louder than mine. So one of us may have that problem. And I have nothing to verify this at this point, okay? So I hope you found this useful. Zoom can be a great tool. I've used it so many times. All throughout COVID, I used it to go on song circles and writers' workshops. And it really is a good quality product, okay? You still can't play together because there is a time lapse depending on your internet. And I would recommend greatly that you always are hardwired to your internet. Don't use Wi-Fi on these things. You're just asking for problems. Make sure that you are hardwired through your laptop to your internet, and make sure that your internet provider, run a test and make sure that your internet provider is giving you enough up, not down. You don't need down to stream, you need up, okay? And a lot of times that is not talked about when you're getting internet. So they say, oh, it's 100 megabits a second or whatever that is. And it is, it's fast. But you might only get 5 megabits up, and that's not enough. That would be the bare minimum. A comfortable range is 15 to 20 megabits per second, Mbps is up, okay? So you want to check with your provider. If you feel that your streams are choppy or they're not sounding right, okay, you might want to check with your internet provider and see what your upload speed is, and make sure that, you know, it's not hard today to get 20, you know, guaranteed 20 up. So that's another important piece of the streaming puzzle, not only through Zoom, but streaming in general. So once again, I hope everything, you know, I hope this is something that you guys can use. Sorry for the length of the video. I may end up, you know, maybe chopping this and putting into 2 parts. But so if you like what you hear, please hit subscribe. The channel is new. I will be adding to it as we go. There's more new videos coming. And welcome any questions you may have or any recommendations for other videos or anything that I can help with. Okay? See you later.